Captain Evelyn Hartwell sits alone in the corner of the barracks staring at a photograph. The edges are worn from handling. The image shows two pilots standing in front of a Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. Both are smiling. Both are young. One of them is dead. Lieutenant Michael Brennan, 24 years old, shot down over Burma 18 months ago while Evelyn chased glory. She remembers his last transmission, crackling through static, flames already consuming his cockpit. "Stay with the bombers, Eve. Always stay with the bombers." She folds the photograph carefully and tucks it into her flight jacket, the same jacket she wore in China, the same jacket she'll wear tomorrow when 300 bombers launch into the teeth of the Luftwaffe. Outside, the December wind tears across the runway. Ice forms on the wings of the P-51 Mustangs lined up in perfect rows. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of a Wright Cyclone engine coughs to life, sputters, dies. This is the winter of blood. The 8th Air Force calls it the Combined Bomber Offensive. The men who fly it call it something else. The meat grinder, the killing season, the long ride to nowhere. The mathematics are simple and brutal. Every mission into Germany, 1 in 5 bombers does not return. On bad days, it's worse. 60 aircraft lost in a single afternoon, 600 men dead, wounded, or imprisoned before sunset. The crews know the odds. They count missions like condemned men count days. 25 missions to complete a tour. Most don't make it past 15. Evelyn has flown 23. She stands and walks to the window. Across the field, the bomber crews are preparing. Boys mostly. 19, 20, 22 years old, farm kids from Iowa, mechanics from Detroit, college dropouts who volunteered because their fathers fought in the last war and told them to. They write letters they hope won't be delivered. They check and recheck equipment they know won't save them. They joke with the forced lightness of men who understand. They might be dead by dinner. Evelyn watches them and thinks of Michael. She was supposed to protect him. That was the mission over Burma. Cover the bombers, keep the Japanese fighters off their backs. Simple. But she saw an opportunity. A Zero climbing alone, separated from its squadron. An easy kill. Her 6th victory. A number that mattered to her more than it should have. She broke formation. Chased the Zero into a cloud bank. Got her kill. While she was gone, 3 more Zeros attacked the bombers. Michael tried to cover them alone. He lasted 45 seconds. When Evelyn returned, his P-40 was a fireball spiraling toward the jungle below. The citation called her an ace. 6 confirmed victories. The squadron threw her a party. She smiled and accepted their congratulations and never told anyone that she could still hear Michael screaming her name through the radio static. That was August 1942. She left the Flying Tigers 2 weeks later. Came home, joined the Army Air Forces, got assigned to the 8th and sent to England because someone in Washington thought P-51 pilots with combat experience were worth their weight in gold. They didn't ask if she was worth the cost of that experience. The barracks door opens. A gust of frozen air sweeps through the room. A young pilot enters. Lieutenant Tommy Jackson, 23 years old, fresh face, hands that shake when he thinks no one is looking. He sees Evelyn and hesitates. "Captain Hartwell," he says. "I didn't know anyone was in here." "It's fine, Jackson." He nods but doesn't move. The men in the 354th Fighter Squadron don't know what to make of her. The only woman flying fighters in the European theater. A former Flying Tiger with 6 kills. A pilot who doesn't drink with them, doesn't joke with them, doesn't fit into any category they understand. Some respect her. Some resent her. Most just avoid her. Jackson clears his throat. "Big mission tomorrow." "They're all big, Jackson." "Right, yeah, of course." He shifts his weight. "I heard it's Oschersleben. Deep penetration, maximum range." "That's what the briefing said. First time I'll be escorting that far in." Evelyn looks at him. really looks at him. She sees the fear in his eyes, the way he's gripping his flight gloves too tightly, the slight tremor in his jaw. "You'll do fine," she says. "How do you know?" "Because you're scared. The ones who aren't scared are the ones who get killed." Jackson tries to smile. It doesn't reach his eyes. He nods once and leaves. Evelyn returns to the window. The sky is darkening. Tomorrow at 0600 they'll launch. 16 P-51 Mustangs from the 354th. Their job is to escort the bombers to the target and bring them home. Except they won't make it all the way. The numbers don't work. 450 miles to Oschersleben. The Mustangs can reach it barely, but they'll only have 15 minutes of combat time before they have to turn back or run out of fuel over enemy territory. 15 minutes to protect hundreds of bombers from the entire Luftwaffe fighter force. Then they'll leave, because orders are orders and fuel is fuel and dead escorts help no one. The bombers will continue alone, into the heart of Germany, into the killing zone, and some of them won't come home. Evelyn closes her eyes and hears Michael's voice again. "Stay with the bombers, Eve. Always." Morning comes cold and dark. The briefing room at 0500 hours. 90 men crammed into a space meant for 60. Cigarette smoke hangs in the air like fog, the smell of coffee and sweat and fear. Major Williams stands at the front of the room. 45 years old, 300 combat hours, a face that looks 60. He's lost 40% of his pilots in 2 months. The toll shows in every line around his eyes. "Gentlemen," he says. The room falls silent. "And Captain Hartwell." A few chuckles. Forced. Nervous. Williams pulls back a curtain to reveal a map of Western Europe. Red lines trace a route from England across the North Sea deep into Germany. A red circle marks the target, Oschersleben. "Aircraft manufacturing facility," Williams says. "High priority. Intelligence says they're producing Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs faster than we can shoot them down. Our job is to change that." He pauses, lets that sink in. 300 B-17s will hit the target. "We'll provide escort as far as fuel allows. Weather forecast is poor. Cloud cover over the North Sea. Visibility near zero. Stay tight on your flight leaders. Do not get separated." Someone in the back raises a hand. "How far can we go, Major?" Williams looks at the map. At the red circle 450 miles inside Germany. At the fuel calculations scrawled in the margin. 15 minutes of combat time at the target area, then we turn for home. The room is silent. Everyone understands what he's not saying. 15 minutes. Then the bombers are alone. Williams continues. "Luftwaffe fighter strength is expected to be heavy. Messerschmitt 109s, Focke-Wulf 190s. They'll use head-on attacks, standard tactic. Climb high, roll, inverted dive straight through the formation, closing speed over 500 miles per hour. Gunners will have 3, maybe 4 seconds to track and fire. Most won't get a shot off." He looks around the room, at the young faces, the hands gripping armrests, the eyes that won't meet his. "Our doctrine is clear. Escorts maintain position outside the bomber formation. High cover, flank cover. Intercept enemy fighters before they reach the heavies. Do not under any circumstances fly inside the bomber formation. Turbulence, prop, wash, friendly fire. You'll get yourself killed and maybe take a B-17 with you." Evelyn listens. She's heard this briefing a dozen times. The doctrine makes sense on paper. In practice, it means watching bombers burn while you're too far away to help. Williams finishes. "Takeoff is of 600, weather permitting. Questions?" No one speaks. Dismissed. The room empties slowly. Pilots gather their gear, check their watches, light cigarettes with shaking hands. Evelyn stands to leave. Williams catches her eye. "Hartwell, a word." She waits while the others file out. When they're alone, Williams closes the door. "You've been quiet lately." he says. Nothing to say, sir. You used to be different, back when you first arrived. Confident, aggressive. Now you fly like you're carrying weight. Evelyn says nothing. William sighs. I read your file. I know about Burma, about your wingman. Permission to speak freely, sir. Go ahead. What happened in Burma is in the past. It doesn't affect my performance. Doesn't it? William steps closer. You're the best pilot in this squadron, Hartwell. Maybe the best in the group. But you fly scared. Not for yourself. For everyone else. You try to cover too many angles, protect too many people. It's going to get you killed. Respectfully, sir, that's my concern. William shakes his head. It's my problem when I lose my best pilot because she's still fighting a war that ended 18 months ago. He pauses. One mistake tomorrow, Hartwell, and I'll ground you. Permanently. Understood. Yes, sir. Good. Now get some rest. We launch in 1 hour. Evelyn leaves the briefing room and walks across the dark field toward her aircraft. The P-51 sits alone at the end of the line. Someone has painted a name on the nose. Valkyrie. She runs her hand along the fuselage. Cold aluminum. Rivets under her fingertips, 50 caliber machine guns loaded and ready, fuel tanks topped off, oil pressure checked, everything perfect, everything prepared except her. 600 hours. The sky is still dark when the first engine roars to life. Then another. Then 100 more. The sound builds like thunder. The ground shakes. Exhaust flames flicker blue in the pre-dawn darkness. Evelyn straps into the cockpit, shoulder harness tight, oxygen mask secured, canopy closed. She runs through the checklist automatically, throttle mixture, prop pitch, trim tabs. Her hands know the sequence. They've done it 100 times. The tower clears her for takeoff. She advances the throttle. The Merlin engine howls, 1,200 horsepower pushing her back into the seat. The runway lights blur past, 70 miles per hour, 80, 90, the tail lifts. The rumble of wheels on concrete fades. Suddenly she's airborne. Rising into the gray dawn, England falling away below. She banks left and climbs. Around her 15 other Mustangs form up. Jackson struggles to hold position. His wingtip wobbles, too close then too far. Steady, Falcon 4, Evelyn says over the radio. Calm, firm. Lock onto my wing and stay there. Copy, Falcon 7. They climb through cloud layers. 2,000 feet, 5,000, 10,000. The temperature drops. Ice forms on the canopy edges. Evelyn switches on the defroster. The glass clears. Above the clouds, the sun is rising, orange and gold across an endless white sea. Below, nothing but gray. Ahead, the bomber stream emerges. 300 B-17 flying fortresses in staggered formations. Box formations. Combat boxes. Stacked high and low to create overlapping fields of fire. It looks impressive. It looks invincible. It's neither. Evelyn has seen these formations torn apart, watched bombers explode mid-air, seen wings fold, tails shot away, entire crews dying in seconds while the formation flew on because stopping meant dying faster. She pushes the thought away and focuses on her job. Stay with the bombers, keep the Luftwaffe off their backs. 15 minutes. That's all. The formation crosses the English coast. Below, the North Sea spreads out like hammered steel, cold, gray, unforgiving. Major Carter's voice crackles through the radio. Falcon Squadron, this is Falcon Lead. Form up on the port side, high cover, eyes open. Copy, Falcon Lead, Evelyn responds. The squadron spreads out, 4 flights of 4, each flight watching a different quadrant of sky. The bombers drone on below, steady, methodical, flying into hell at 180 miles per hour. Inside those bombers are boys, 20 years old, 22. They sit in cramped metal tubes breathing oxygen through rubber masks. Waist gunners stand at open windows where the wind screams past at 200 below zero. Ball turret gunners curl into tiny spheres of plexiglass beneath the aircraft, suspended over empty air with nothing between them and the ground. But fate. They know the odds. They've seen the empty bunks, the letters sent home, the telegrams delivered to parents who'll never stop crying. But they fly anyway, because someone has to, because the war won't win itself, because 25 missions means you can go home and most of them believe they'll make it even though the numbers say otherwise. Evelyn wonders how many will die today. She wonders if she'll be one of them. 20 minutes over the North Sea. The weather deteriorates. Cloud cover thickens. Visibility drops to near zero. The bomber formation stretches out. Aircraft lose visual contact. Some drift high, others drop low. The neat geometry fractures. Radio discipline collapses. Panicked voices overlap. Where's Baker 3? I lost visual on the lead ship. Charlie formation, this is Charlie 6. I'm drifting, I can't see anyone. Radio silence. Carter's voice cuts through the chaos. All aircraft maintain heading. Trust your instruments. We'll reform above the clouds. But they don't. The formation is scattered, broken into pieces across 50 miles of sky. Some bombers climb above the weather, others stay below. A few turn back lost and frightened and out of options. Evelyn scans the sky. She counts bombers, 37, 40, 52, not enough. The main force has pulled ahead. These are stragglers, separated, vulnerable. She keys her radio. Falcon lead, this is Falcon 7. I have separated bombers at 10 o'clock low. Estimate 30 aircraft, no escort coverage visible. Static. Then Carter's voice strained. Copy Falcon 7. Hold position. We've got bandits at 12 high, engaging now. Evelyn looks up. 6 Focke-Wulf 190s are diving out of the sun. Black crosses on their wings, cannon fire winking orange. The Mustangs break formation. Dogfight erupts, twisting, turning. Machines screaming through the sky at 400 miles per hour. Evelyn wants to help, should help. Her squadron needs her. But below those 30 bombers drift west, alone, unprotected. She checks her fuel gauge. 45 minutes remaining, enough to get home if she leaves now. Not enough if she stays. She looks down at the bombers, looks up at the dogfight, hears Carter's voice shouting over the radio, hears Michael's voice in her memory. She makes her decision. Falcon lead, this is Falcon 7. I'm breaking formation, going after the separated bombers. Silence. Then Carter's voice sharp with authority. Negative, Falcon 7, negative. Hold your position, that's a direct order. Evelyn reaches for the radio, switches to a different frequency. The bomber channel. B-17 formation, this is Falcon 7. P-51 escort, I'm coming to you. Stay in tight formation, help is on the way. She rolls inverted and dives. Behind her, Carter's voice screams through her headset. Hartwell, get back here, that's a direct order, Hartwell. She switches off the radio. The altimeter unwinds. 20,000 feet. 15,000, 10,000, the separated bomber formation grows larger. She counts them, 30 aircraft, maybe 240 crew members. And below them, circling like sharks, 14 German fighters. 6 Messerschmitt Bf 109s, 8 Focke-Wulf Focke-Wulf 190s, positioning for attack, communicating, coordinating, preparing to tear the formation apart. Evelyn's mouth goes dry. 14 against 1. Every rational part of her brain screams to turn back, run, survive. You can't fight 14 aircraft alone. It's suicide. It's insane. But she sees Michael's P-40 spinning toward the jungle, sees the flames, hears his last words. She checks her fuel. 22 minutes remaining. She checks her ammunition, full load, 180 rounds. She looks at the bombers, at the boys inside who don't know they're about to die. And she shoves the throttle forward. The Mustang accelerates, 300 miles per hour, 350, 400. The engine screams, wind hammers the canopy, her vision tunnels. The German fighters haven't seen her yet. They're focused on the bombers, setting up their approach. Classic Luftwaffe doctrine. Climb high, roll inverted, dive through the formation nose first, Closing speed over 500 miles per hour. Bomber gunners get 4 seconds to react. Most freeze. The ones who don't miss, it's efficient, it's brutal, it's unstoppable. Usually, Evelyn closes to 1,000 yards, 800, 600. The lead German pilot spots her. His fighter wobbles. Surprise. Confusion. One Mustang alone, Evelyn fires. Tracers arc across the sky. 50 caliber rounds, 6 guns, 80 rounds per second, a river of fire. She's too far for a kill. She knows it. But that's not the point. The Germans scatter. The formation breaks. Momentarily, chaos ripples through their ranks. How many Americans are there? Where did she come from? Is this a trap? Evelyn uses the confusion. She climbs hard, full throttle, full power. The Merlin engine roars. She gains altitude, gets above the Germans, forces them to react to her instead of the bombers. Inside the lead B-17, Captain Robert Hayes watches through the cockpit window. A lone Mustang tearing through the sky. Tracers lighting up the clouds. German fighters breaking formation. His co-pilot stares. Captain, is that one fighter? Hayes keys the intercom. Ball turret, what do you see? Beneath the aircraft, Staff Sergeant Billy Price rotates his turret, scans the sky, sees the P-51, sees 14 German fighters regrouping. Captain, he says slowly, we got one escort, engaging 14 bandits, alone. Silence on the intercom, then Hayes's voice, quiet, shaking. Dear God, the radio crackles, a woman's voice, calm, professional. B-17 formation, this is Falcon 7, P-51 escort, I'm with you, stay in tight formation, do not break, I repeat, stay tight. Hayes stares at the radio, at the lone Mustang climbing toward impossible odds. His hands grip the control yoke. His wife's photograph presses against his chest. His son, not yet born, waits at home. And somewhere out there, a woman he's never met is about to die trying to save him. The German fighters regroup. 4 Bf-109s peel off, form a line, position themselves for a head-on attack. They dive. Evelyn sees them coming, calculates angles, speed, closure rate. Time to impact. She has one advantage. One chance. She flies straight at them, 4 against 1. Combined closing speed 600 miles per hour. 5 seconds to collision. 4 seconds. 3. Evelyn fires, short burst, 2 seconds. Lead Bf-109 brakes left, smoke trails from its engine. The other 3 keep coming. 2 seconds. Evelyn pulls hard right, 6 Gs. 7. Her vision grays. Blood drains from her brain. She fights to stay conscious. The Germans flash past. So close she sees the pilot's face in the nearest cockpit. Young, frightened, alive, then they're gone. Evelyn rolls level, gasps for air. Her hands shake on the stick. The Germans regroup, circle back. They're cautious now, respectful. She's proven she'll fight. But there are still 13 of them. And she's alone. Her fuel gauge reads 18 minutes. The fight has just begun. The sky over Germany is a geometry problem written in fire and steel. Evelyn climbs. 2,000 feet, 3,000. Her engine screams at maximum power. The Packard-built Merlin V1650 burns fuel at a catastrophic rate. But she needs altitude, needs the high ground, needs the advantage that height provides in aerial combat. Below the 30 B-17s hold formation, tight, disciplined, waiting. Each bomber carries 10 men, pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, flight engineer, radio operator, and 4 gunners. 300 men total, 300 families waiting for telegrams that might never come. The German fighters circle, 13 aircraft now, 1 damaged trailing white smoke from coolant leak limping toward home and hoping to make it before the engine seizes. The others regroup, reform, communicate on frequencies Evelyn can't hear but can predict. She watches them, counts them, calculates angles and speeds and probabilities. 13 fighters. Each Messerschmitt Bf 109 carries one 20mm cannon and two 13mm machine guns. Each Focke-Wulf FW-190 carries four 20mm cannons and two machine guns. 78 weapons combined, all pointed at her and the bombers she's trying to protect. Against her 6 Browning M2 50 caliber machine guns and one 840 rounds remaining. She's already burned through 40 rounds in that first warning burst. The math says she has about 90 seconds of continuous fire left. After that, she's a metal glider with a target painted on her back. The odds are 13-1, but odds are just numbers. Physics is certainty. She keys the radio, and B-17 lead, this is Falcon 7. What's your aircraft name? Static crackles, then a male voice breaks through, steady despite everything happening around him. Professional, controlled. Falcon 7, this is Lucky Lady, Captain Robert Hayes, aircraft commander. Who am I speaking with? Captain Evelyn Hartwell, 354th Fighter Squadron, Captain Hayes. I need you to listen carefully. The Germans are going to try coordinated attacks from multiple angles. When I call for it, I need your entire formation to turn on my mark. Can you do that? Silence. Hayes is thinking, processing. Turning 30 bombers in combat formation violates every regulation in the manual. Aircraft fly wingtip to wingtip with maybe 18 feet of clearance. One pilot misjudges the bank angle and wings collide. Metal crumples, aircraft tumble, men die. But staying straight and level means German fighters dive through unimpeded. Cannon shells rip through aluminum skin, engines explode. Fuel tanks ignite. Men die faster. Hayes has flown 18 missions. He's seen both scenarios. He knows the mathematics of survival. He makes his choice. Affirm Falcon 7 will follow your lead, but I need 10 seconds warning to coordinate. Understood. Stand by. Evelyn checks her fuel gauge. 16 minutes remaining. The needle hovers just above the red zone. At combat power, her Merlin consumes 90 gallons per hour. Simple division says she has maybe 24 gallons left sloshing in her tanks. Not enough to get home. Not even close. The English coast is 400 miles west. Even at maximum economy, crews leaned out to the edge of reliability. She'd need at least 40 gallons to make it. She's already a dead woman flying. The only question is how many men she saves before the mathematics catch up. The Germans attack. 6 Focke-Wulf 190s this time. Hauptmann Klaus Richter's aircraft leads them. He's been watching Evelyn, studying her tactics. He saw what she did with that first pass, the long-range burst that scattered his formation. Unorthodox, aggressive, effective, he radios his flight, coordinates the attack in crisp German that Evelyn can't understand but can predict. Standard Luftwaffe doctrine for bomber interception. Divide the defense, attack from multiple angles simultaneously. Force the escort to choose which bombers to protect and which to abandon. The 6 FW-190s split into 2 groups. 3 diving from 2 o'clock high, approaching from the right side of the bomber formation. 3 from 10 o'clock high, approaching from the left. Both groups will arrive at the formation simultaneously. Closing speed will exceed 500 miles per hour combined. The bomber gunners will have maybe 4 seconds from first visual contact to guns in range. It's a killing stroke. Practiced, refined, proven through 100 previous bomber interceptions. Classic Luftwaffe doctrine. Divide the defense. Overwhelm the response. Evelyn has 3 seconds to choose. Bank right and engage the 3 fighters attacking from that side, or bank left and engage the other 3. Save half the bombers or abandon them all. The mathematics say she can't win, so she changes the equation. She dives straight down, toward the bombers. Inside Lucky Lady's cockpit, Robert Hayes sees the P-51 diving toward him. For a moment he thinks she's been hit, shot down, going to crash into his formation. Then he understands. The bomber formation looms larger in Evelyn's windscreen. 30 aircraft flying in staggered combat box, wingtip to wingtip, 18-foot wingspan gaps between them. She can see the individual bombers now. See the waist gunners standing at their open windows, 50 caliber guns tracking movement. See the ball turret gunners rotating beneath the fuselage, suspended in tiny plexiglass spheres over empty air. Prop wash turbulence radiates from each bomber. Invisible walls of disturbed air created by 4 rotating propellers per aircraft. 120 propellers total, creating vortices that can flip a fighter aircraft inverted, that can break control surfaces, that can kill. Every fighter pilot is taught the same lesson from their first day of training. Never fly inside the bomber formation. Ever. The risk is too high, the turbulence too severe. One mistake and you collide with a bomber. 2 aircraft destroyed. 20 men dead. The doctrine is written in blood. It exists for good reason. Evelyn is about to violate it. She throttles back, reduces power from combat setting to cruise. Her airspeed bleeds off. 400 miles per hour, 350, 300, 250. The Mustang shakes, protests. The aircraft was designed to fly fast. It wants speed. It needs speed. At 180 miles per hour, it's on the edge of stall. The controls go mushy, sluggish, like flying through honey. The stall warning buzzes in her headset, annoying, insistent, telling her to add power or die. She ignores it. She matches speed with the bombers, 180 miles per hour, 182 according to her airspeed indicator. Close enough. And she slides into the lead element, 50 feet ahead of Hayes' B-17, centered on his nose, low enough that she doesn't block his forward visibility, but high enough to be clearly visible to any attacking fighter. She's flying formation with the bombers, inside the formation. In the exact position every manual says will kill her. The prop wash hits her aircraft. Turbulence slams the Mustang up then down. Her wings rock. The stick moves in her hands without input. The aircraft bucks like a wild horse. She fights it, constant small corrections on stick and rudder, anticipating the turbulence, flowing with it instead of against it, like riding ocean waves instead of trying to flatten them. It takes every ounce of concentration, every bit of skill acquired through 300 combat hours in P-40s and P-51s. Her hands move continuously, small inputs, gentle pressure, reading the aircraft through her fingertips and her inner ear. Inside Lucky Lady's cockpit, Hayes' co-pilot grabs his arm, points forward. Jesus Christ, I see her. Hayes keys the intercom, connects to all crew positions simultaneously. All gunners, all positions. Do not fire on the P-51. Repeat, do not fire on the friendly fighter positioned ahead of us. She's friendly. She's trying to help. Pass the word to the other bombers. His radio operator immediately starts transmitting to the other 29 bombers, warning them, explaining, making sure some nervous gunner doesn't shoot down their only defender. In the ball turret beneath Lucky Lady, Staff Sergeant Billy Price watches the Mustang settle into position. He's suspended in his tiny plexiglass sphere, knees pulled to his chest, rotating slowly to scan for threats. The turret gives him a 360-degree view of the sky below the bomber. He can see everything. He sees the P-51 holding position 50 feet ahead of the formation. So close he can read the aircraft number on the fuselage. So close he can see the pilot's helmet through the canopy, the oxygen mask, the goggled face behind the windscreen. Details register. Small details his brain processes without conscious thought. The pilot's helmet isn't standard issue. It's darker, looks older, maybe brought from another theater, maybe personal equipment. The pilot's shoulders look narrow, small frame. Then Price sees the pilot's face profile as she glances left to check wing position. A woman. He's never seen a woman flying a fighter before. Didn't know they existed. Didn't know they were allowed. "Captain," he says slowly into the intercom. His voice is careful, uncertain. "What's she doing?" Hayes watches the German fighters diving. Both groups committed now, closing fast. He watches the P-51 holding position directly ahead of him, perfectly centered, perfectly visible. Rock steady despite the turbulence that should be tearing her apart. And he understands exactly what she's doing. She's making herself the problem they have to solve first. The Focke-Wulfs dive. 3 from the right, 3 from the left. Richter leads the right group. He's committed to the attack run. Target locked. Firing solution calculated. Range decreasing. 2,000 meters, 1,500, 1,000. He looks through his reflector gun sight. The bomber formation is centered. Perfect approach angle. In 5 seconds, he'll be in firing range. He'll trigger his 4 20mm cannons. Watch the tracer rounds arc toward the lead bomber. Watch the shells impact and detonate. Then he sees the Mustang. It's positioned directly in his attack line, between him and the bombers, armed, nose pointed toward him, 650 caliber machine guns ready to fire. The physics are simple and brutal. Head-on collision at combined closure speed of 600 miles per hour equals mutual annihilation. No survivors, no parachutes, just wreckage tumbling toward Earth and 2 families receiving telegrams. Richter has 1 second to decide. Press the attack, kill bombers, die in the process, or break off. Live to fight another day. Except that one American pilot is disrupting an attack that should be guaranteed success. His hand is on the trigger. His gun sight is locked. The target is there, but so is the Mustang. He brakes left, hard bank, full aileron input. The FW-190 rolls, pulls away from the attack run. His wingmen see him brake. They follow immediately. 3 German fighters peeling away, climbing, aborting. On the left side, the same calculation plays out, same geometry, same physics, same result. The lead German pilot sees the Mustang blocking his approach, calculates collision probability, decides survival trumps glory. He brakes right, his wingmen follow. Both German flights abort, both climb away, both attacks disrupted. Evelyn hasn't fired a single shot. Her position alone and the pure physics of her placement disrupted both attacks. Inside, Lucky Lady Hayes stares through the windscreen. His hands are shaking on the control yoke. His breathing is rapid, adrenaline coursing through his system. She just stopped them. His co-pilot's voice is hollow, empty, the voice of a man processing impossibility. She's 1 fighter against 13. How long can she do this? Hayes checks his watch. His mission briefing said the bombers would be without escort for approximately 90 minutes, until they reach the fighter relief point where fresh P-51s will take over protection duties. They've been without main escort for maybe 20 minutes. 70 minutes to go. The Germans won't quit. They'll regroup, analyze, adapt, try different tactics, keep trying until they succeed or run out of fuel or their commander decides the cost exceeds the benefit, and Evelyn is alone. 1 pilot, 1 aircraft, finite fuel, finite ammunition, finite human endurance. The mathematics say she can't hold for 70 minutes, but she's already done the impossible once. Hayes keys the radio. His voice is thick, emotional. Falcon 7, this is Lucky Lady. That was... Thank you. Evelyn's voice crackles back immediately. Calm, professional, matter-of-fact, like she just completed a routine training exercise instead of defying physics and doctrine simultaneously. Stay tight, Captain. They're coming again. She's right. Above the formation, the German fighters regroup. They climb to 25,000 feet, well above the bombers cruising at 20,000, well above Evelyn maintaining position at the same altitude as the B-17s. Richter is furious. Not at Evelyn, he's a professional, he respects competent enemies, but at himself for being outmaneuvered. 1 American pilot disrupted 2 coordinated attacks, made him and his experienced pilots look like students. Unacceptable. He radios his remaining fighters. 11 aircraft now, 1 destroyed or damaged and withdrawn earlier. His voice is sharp, commanding. Neue Taktik, sie zuerst dann die Bomber. New tactic. Her first, then the bombers. The German fighters stop circling the bomber formation. They turn toward Evelyn. All 11 of them. Billy Price sees it from his ball turret position. 11 German fighters converging on the lone P-51 from every direction. North, south, east, west. High angles, low angles, no escape vector, no safe direction. Captain, he says into the intercom. His voice is tight. They're going after her, all of them. They're ignoring us completely. Hayes watches helplessly. His B-17 has 1350 caliber machine guns distributed across 5 positions: nose, tail, dorsal, ventral, and waist. But none can reach high enough or far enough to help Evelyn. The Germans are attacking from above and ahead, outside his gunner's effective range. There's nothing he can do, nothing except watch while a woman he's never met fights alone against impossible odds so that he and his crew might live. Come on, he whispers to himself, to God, to fate, to anyone listening. Come on! Evelyn sees them coming. She's been expecting this, anticipated it. The Germans are professional, experienced. They adapted quickly. If she stays with the bombers, the Germans will attack her from above. Use their altitude advantage. Dive through and kill her before she can react. So she climbs. Full throttle. Full power. Emergency war power if necessary. She shoves the throttle forward past the normal detent into the emergency setting. The Merlin engine roars. Manifold pressure spikes, 67 inches of mercury, more boost than the engine is rated for. Running it this hard will damage components, reduce engine life, risk detonation. She doesn't care about engine life. She needs altitude now. The Mustang claws upward. 20,000 feet, 21,000, 22,000. The rate of climb indicator shows 2,800 feet per minute. Exceptional for an aircraft at this altitude where thin air robs engines of power. Her fuel gauge drops visibly, 14 minutes remaining. The high-power climb is consuming fuel at twice the normal rate. Maybe 150 gallons per hour. Every second of climb costs her precious minutes of endurance. But she needs the altitude, needs to meet the Germans on equal terms instead of letting them dive on her. The first group attacks before she reaches their altitude. 4 Messerschmitt Bf-109s diving from 12 o'clock high. The classic German head-on pass. The tactic that's destroyed hundreds of American bombers. But Evelyn isn't a bomber. She's a fighter, and she can maneuver. She climbs to meet them. Not straight up, that would bleed her speed too quickly, but at a 30-degree angle. Maintaining energy, maintaining options, the lead Bf-109 opens fire at 800 yards. Too far for accurate shooting, but close enough to scare. Tracers arc past Evelyn's canopy. Bright orange lines in the sky. She doesn't flinch. 600 yards, she fires a burst. 2 seconds, 12 rounds per gun. 72 rounds total. Her tracers converge ahead of the lead German. No hits, but close enough. The lead 109 breaks right instinctively. Self-preservation overriding aggression. His wingman follows. The other 2 press the attack. 400 yards, 300. They're committed, too close to abort without losing face. Evelyn rolls inverted, pulls down, -4 Gs. Her body lifts against the shoulder harness. Blood rushes to her head. Her vision goes red at the edges, petechial hemorrhages forming in the capillaries of her eyes from the reversed G-forces. The 109s flash overhead. Their cannon fire rips through the air where she was 2 seconds ago, close enough that she hears the shells passing, the distinctive crack of supersonic projectiles. She rolls upright, gasps, pulls oxygen through her mask. Her lungs burn, her heart hammers at 160 beats per minute. Adrenaline and exertion pushing her body to its limits. No time to recover. Her peripheral vision catches movement. 3 FW-190s attacking from 9 o'clock. Beam attack. 90-degree deflection. Harder to defend. The attacker has to lead the target, account for speed and closure rate and relative motion. But it also means Evelyn has a longer time window to react. Beam attacks take longer to develop than head-on passes. She pulls hard left, 6 Gs, 7. Her G-suit inflates, squeezes her legs and abdomen, forces blood back toward her brain. Without it, she'd black out, lose consciousness, lose control, die. Her vision tunnels, gray encroaches from the edges. She's on the edge of G-induced loss of consciousness. One more G and she's gone. She eases the pull slightly, stays just below the threshold, fires blind, no time to aim properly, just pointing the nose in the general direction and triggering the gun, spray and pray, hoping volume of fire compensates for lack of precision. Her tracers converge on the lead WWII. Most miss, a few connect. Sparks flash along the fighter's wing route. Not a kill, but damage. Coolant streams from the WWII. White vapor trail. The pilot's engine temperature is spiking. In 5 minutes, maybe less, his engine will seize. He has to break off, head for home. Hope he makes it before the engine quits completely. He banks away, withdrawing from the fight. 10 Germans left. But the attacks are intensifying. The Germans realize she's alone. No help coming. No reinforcements. Just one pilot burning through ammunition and fuel and human endurance. They press harder. 2 Bf-109s attack from below. Climbing attack. They timed it perfectly. Caught her while she's still recovering from the hard left turn. While her energy is low. While she's vulnerable. She sees them too late. Cannon fire rips through her left wing, 320mm shells. The first punches through the aluminum skin 6 inches from the fuselage. Doesn't hit anything critical, just makes a hole. The second shell hits the main wing spar, the primary structural member that keeps the wing attached to the fuselage. The shell detonates. High explosive fragmentation. Metal shards shred the internal structure. The spar holds, barely, but it's damaged, weakened. Stressed beyond design limits. The third shell hits the hydraulic system, severs a main line. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the inside of the wing. Pressure drops from 1,200 psi to 0 in 3 seconds. Warning lights flash red on Evelyn's instrument panel. Master caution. Hydraulic failure. Multiple systems affected. She still has control. The P-51 has manual reversion. If the hydraulics fail, the flight controls connect directly to cables. No power assist, just muscle and leverage. But the stick is heavier now, requires more force, like flying through molasses. Every input takes effort. Her hands and arms will fatigue faster, and the wing is damaged. She can see the holes from the cockpit, see the torn metal. See hydraulic fluid streaming back along the wing surface, freezing in the -40-degree air. She's still flying, still fighting, but the aircraft is degrading, and so is she. Her fuel gauge reads 12 minutes. She checks her ammunition counter. 1,340 rounds remaining. She's burned through 500 rounds. At 6 guns firing 80 rounds per second combined, that's about 6 seconds of total trigger time. 6 seconds. She has maybe 16 seconds of ammunition remaining. Then she's defenseless. The bombers are 5 miles ahead. She's been drawn away from them during the last series of attacks. Fighting individually against multiple Germans. Exactly what they wanted. If she stays here, the Germans will eventually kill her through sheer numbers. Then they'll turn on the undefended bombers. She makes a decision. She runs, full throttle, full speed, nose down, dive toward the bombers. Her airspeed builds rapidly, 300 miles per hour, 350, 400, 450. The aircraft shakes violently. Rivets groan under stress, metal panels flex. The damaged wing spar creaks ominously. The Germans chase. WWIIs excel at high-speed pursuit. They're faster than the P-51 in level flight above 20,000 feet. Faster in a dive, heavier, more momentum. They're gaining. Evelyn's airspeed hits 450 miles per hour, the maximum speed she dares with a damaged wing. One rivet fails and the wing could tear off. Then she's dead, tumbling toward Earth in an uncontrollable spin. But if she slows down, the Germans catch her. And she's dead anyway. She holds forward 50, accepts the risk. She levels out at 20,000 feet, right above the bomber formation. The B-17s are directly below her. 30 aircraft in formation, still holding together, still trusting that she'll protect them. The Germans are 400 yards behind, closing at 50 miles per hour relative velocity, 20 seconds until they're in firing range. Evelyn pulls up hard, vertical climb, full power. The Mustang leaps upward, nose pointing straight at the sky. Speed bleeds off rapidly, 400 miles per hour, 350, 300, 250, 200. The Germans follow, but they're heavier. Their power-to-weight ratio is lower. They can't climb as quickly. Evelyn reaches the top of her climb. Speed drops to 150 miles per hour. The aircraft hangs motionless for a moment, balanced on the edge of a stall. Between flying and falling, she kicks full left rudder, simultaneously pushes the stick forward. The aircraft snap rolls, horizontal spin, the nose drops, gravity takes over. She's diving now, back toward the bombers, but the Germans are still climbing. Committed to following her upward, they can't reverse direction fast enough. By the time they realize the trap, Evelyn is already below them, already accelerating downward, already out of their immediate attack cone. She blows past them, going the opposite direction. 200 miles per hour, 250, 300. She's back above the bombers in 30 seconds. The Germans are a mile behind, furious, regrouping, adapting, but she bought time. Another 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Her fuel gauge reads 10 minutes. 10 minutes of fuel, 400 miles to England. Even at maximum economy, the mathematics don't work. She's not going home. The certainty settles over her like a weight, not fear, not panic, just acceptance. She knew this when she broke formation, knew it when she chose the bombers over her squadron, knew it when she committed to staying instead of running. But the bombers can make it if she keeps the Germans occupied, if she buys them enough time to reach the fighter relief point where fresh P-51s will take over escort duties, if she can hold for 15 more minutes with 10 minutes of fuel. The radio crackles. Hayes' voice. He sounds strained, exhausted. Falcon 7, your fuel situation has to be critical. You need to turn back. We can make it from here. Evelyn keys the transmit button. Her voice is steady, calm, betraying none of the fatigue that's settling into her muscles, none of the certainty of death. Negative, lucky lady, I'm staying. You won't make it home. I know. Silence on the radio. Hayes processes this. A woman he's never met, a name he learned 10 minutes ago. Choosing to die for strangers she'll never know. For men who'll go home to families and live lives and never fully grasp what she sacrificed. His throat tightens. Why? Simple question. Impossible answer. Evelyn thinks of Michael Brennan, of Burma, of watching his P-40 spin toward the jungle while she celebrated shooting down a zero that didn't matter. Of 18 months carrying the weight of that choice. Because I made a promise to someone, she says quietly. I won't leave them unprotected again. She switches frequencies before Hayes can respond, before the emotion in his voice breaks through her professional composure. The Germans attack again. This time it's different. This time they're not trying to reach the bombers. They're trying to kill her, specifically, personally. Richter has made the tactical decision. Ignore the bombers temporarily. Kill the defender first, then return for the unprotected bombers at leisure. Sound doctrine. Logical. Ruthless. He radios his remaining fighters. Alle Jägerkette formation, Staffel attack. We end this now. The 10 remaining German fighters form up. 3 flights staggered by altitude, high, medium, low. Each flight will attack from a different angle. Coordinated timing. Overwhelming force. They dive together. Evelyn sees them coming, counts them. 10 aircraft, 3 attack angles, simultaneous strike. She can't stop all 3 groups. Physically impossible. Even if her ammunition lasted. Even if her fuel lasted. Even if her aircraft wasn't damaged and degrading. She has to choose. Engage one group. Let the other 2 through to the bombers. 2 groups means maybe 8 fighters. 8 fighters means maybe 2 or 3 bombers destroyed. 20 to 30 men dead, unless there's another option. She keys the radio. "Lucky lady, I need you to turn the formation hard left on my mark." Hayes hesitates. "We'll break formation discipline. Aircraft could collide. If you don't turn, half your bombers are dead in 30 seconds. Your choice, Captain." Hayes looks at his co-pilot, at his navigator, at the photograph of his wife tucked above his instrument panel, at the future that depends on this decision. He makes the hardest call of his life. "Formation, this is Lucky Lady lead. Prepare for coordinated turn on my mark. Hard left bank. 30 degrees, count to 3 after my mark, then execute. Acknowledge." One by one, 30 bomber pilots respond. Their voices crackle through the radio. "Roger, Wilco, copy." They don't understand why. Don't question it. They trust their lead aircraft. Trust the woman who's been fighting alone for 30 minutes to keep them alive. The Germans dive closer. 2,000 yards, 1,500, 1,000. Richter's gun sight centers on the lone P-51, range decreasing. 5 more seconds and he'll fire. He'll watch his cannon shells arc toward the target. Watch them impact. Watch the Mustang disintegrate. "Mark!" Evelyn shouts into the radio. Hayes counts. 1, 2, 3. He pulls his control yoke left. Hard, smooth, progressive. The massive B-17 banks. 10 degrees, 20, 30. Behind him, 29 other bomber pilots execute the same maneuver. Simultaneously, coordinated through years of training and trust, the entire formation pivots, 30 bombers turning as one organism. The German attack plan disintegrates. Richter's firing solution was calculated for straight and level targets. Static, predictable, standard bomber behavior. Now the targets are turning, crossing his attack line. His deflection angle is changing every second. He tries to adjust, pulls harder, steepens his dive, but the geometry isn't working. The math has changed. He overshoots, pulls up, tries to reacquire. The second group sees what happened, sees the trap developing. Their flight leader makes an instant decision. Break off, climb away, don't commit to an attack that's already failed. The third group doesn't get the message in time. 4 FW-190s committed to their dive. Too fast, too close. Can't abort without losing face, without appearing cowardly. They press the attack. Evelyn dove during the turn, used the bomber mass as cover, descended below the formation. Now she's underneath, hidden from above by 30 B-17s. The attacking FW-190s don't see her until it's too late. She climbs. Vertical, full power. The damaged wing groans. The spar flexes, hydraulic fluid still streaming. She appears directly in the German's path. 50 yards ahead, impossible to miss, impossible to avoid. She fires all 6 guns, full trigger pull. 3-second burst. Every remaining round in her ammunition boxes, 140 rounds in 3 seconds, 446 rounds per second, a river of fire. The lead FW-190 flies directly into the stream of 50 caliber rounds. The shells are armor-piercing, incendiary. They punch through the engine cowling, through the cylinders, through the crankcase, through the pilot. The fighter explodes, fuel and ammunition detonating simultaneously. A orange fireball at 20,000 feet. The wingman flies through the debris field, can't avoid it. Metal shards shred his aircraft, coolant lines, oil lines, control cables. His engine seizes instantly. Smoke pours from the cowling. He banks hard right. Emergency procedure, head for home. Hope he makes it. Hope the French resistance finds him before the Germans if he has to bail out. The other 2 FW-190s break off. Survival instinct overriding aggression. They've just watched 2 aircraft destroyed or crippled in 3 seconds. They climb away, refusing to press an attack that costs more than it gains. Evelyn's guns click empty. Firing pins striking empty chambers. No more ammunition. She's fired every round. She's now flying an unarmed fighter over enemy territory with 10 minutes of fuel and a damaged airframe. She rolls inverted, scans the sky, counts aircraft, 8 Germans left, and they're withdrawing. Not running, not retreating, just leaving. She doesn't understand until she checks her watch. They've been fighting for 28 minutes of continuous combat, maximum intensity, high G maneuvering, full throttle. The Germans are low on fuel, too, and ammunition and the psychological will to keep trading losses for diminishing returns. Richter makes the calculation. His math is brutal but clear. 3 fighters destroyed, damaged, or withdrawing. Bomber formation still intact. American fighter reinforcements due within 30 minutes. His own fuel state critical. The cost now exceeds the benefit. He radios the order. His voice is professional. No emotion, just tactical reality. Alle Jäger abbrechen. Rückkehr zur Basis. All fighters break off. Return to base. The 8 remaining German fighters peel away, dive toward lower altitude, disappear into the cloud layers below. The sky goes quiet. Evelyn circles above the bombers. Her hands shake on the control stick. Adrenaline crash. The shaking starts in her fingers, spreads to her hands, her arms, her whole body. The silence is deafening after 30 minutes of engine roar and gunfire and radio chatter and wind noise. She checks her gauges, a pilot's instinct, even when the numbers are final. Fuel 8 minutes remaining. Ammunition 0, empty, expended. Oil pressure dropping. The hits she took damaged something in the oil system. Slow leak. Not critical yet, but getting worse. In 20 minutes, the engine will seize from lack of lubrication. She won't be flying in 20 minutes. Hydraulic pressure 0, complete failure, already known. Engine temperature rising, yellow zone. Approaching red, position 380 miles from England. The numbers don't lie. The mathematics are final. She's not going home. 8 minutes of fuel at maximum economy cruise gives her maybe 90 miles of range. Optimistically, that leaves 290 miles of ocean and enemy territory where she'll crash, where she'll die. Hayes's voice breaks through on the radio. Falcon 7, they're gone. You did it. You saved us. Evelyn doesn't respond immediately. She's watching the bombers below. 30 aircraft still in formation, still flying west, still heading home. 240 men who'll see tomorrow. Billy Price's voice joins Hayes. Falcon 7, can you make it home? Evelyn looks at her fuel gauge, at the red warning light that just illuminated, at the engine temperature climbing into the red zone. She thinks of Michael, of the choice she made in Burma to chase glory instead of protecting the people who needed her. She made a different choice today. Negative, lucky lady, fuel is too low. I'm going to try to stretch it as far as I can. Silence on the radio. The kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Then Hayes's voice, thick with emotion he's not trying to hide. My wife is pregnant, due in 3 weeks. When I get home, I'm naming my son after you. What's your first name? Evelyn smiles behind her oxygen mask. The smile is genuine, peaceful. Evelyn, but everyone calls me Eve. Evelyn, Hayes repeats, testing the name, committing it to memory. My son's name will be Evan, E-V-A-N. So he remembers. So everyone remembers what you did today. Just get home safe, Captain. You too. Please, try. I will. Evelyn pulls away from the formation, climbs to 25,000 feet. The higher altitude gives her better glide range if the engine quits. Basic physics. Every 1,000 feet of altitude equals roughly 2 miles of glide distance in a P-51. She leans the fuel mixture as far as she dares. Reduces power to absolute minimum. The engine runs rough, misses occasionally, but stays alive. She watches the bombers continue west, getting smaller, fading into the distance, heading towards safety while she heads towards certain death. Below, the landscape of Europe slides past. Germany, the villages and towns she can't name, the forests, the rivers, the roads where German soldiers move supplies and reinforcements. Her fuel gauge reads 6 minutes. The engine coughs, sputters, fuel starvation beginning. She switches to the auxiliary tank, maybe another gallon, maybe 2. The engine smooths out, temporarily. 5 minutes of fuel. She crosses into Holland, still 250 miles from England. The North Sea is ahead, cold gray water where survival time is measured in minutes. Where hypothermia kills before drowning. 4 minutes. The engine temperature is red line, maximum. The oil leak is critical now. She can smell burning oil through the cockpit vents. See smoke wisps trailing from the cowling. 3 minutes. The French coast is ahead. Normandy beaches. In 6 months, American soldiers will land there. But today it's occupied territory. German troops. Gestapo. Concentration camps for downed Allied airmen. 2 minutes. The engine coughs again. Dies completely this time. No restart. No auxiliary tank. No emergency fuel reserve. Just silence. The propeller windmills, spinning freely without power. Creating drag. The aircraft is gliding now. No thrust, just altitude and momentum and aerodynamics. She has 15,000 feet of altitude. In a clean, undamaged P-51 that's maybe 30 miles of glide range. But her aircraft isn't clean. The damaged wing creates additional drag. The windmilling prop creates drag. She'll be lucky to get 25 miles. The coast is 30 miles away. She's not going to make it. But then she sees it. A break in the clouds ahead, sunlight streaming through, and beyond it impossibly a coastline. Not France. England. She's misjudged the distance, or the wind pushed her farther west than her dead reckoning navigation calculated, or the geography is different than the chart showed. She doesn't care why. Only that it's there. The engine is dead, fuel exhausted, but she has 3,000 feet of altitude and the English coast is 10 miles ahead. The mathematics say she can make it. Maybe. She drops the landing gear manually. The hydraulics are dead. She has to crank the emergency gear extension handle. 32 turns. Her arms burn. Her shoulders ache. But the gear locks down. Drag increases immediately. The aircraft sinks faster. 2,000 feet of altitude, 5 miles to go. She spots an airfield, RAF Manston, emergency landing field on the coast, built specifically for damaged aircraft that can't make it to their home bases. Short runway. But she's not in a position to be choosy. 1,000 feet, 2 miles to go. She's too high, too fast. She'll overshoot the runway, land in the ocean beyond. She slips the aircraft, pushes left rudder while holding right aileron, crosses the controls. The aircraft goes sideways through the air, maximum drag, killing lift, dropping like a stone. 500 feet. The runway is ahead, lined up, close. She centers the controls, stops the slip. The aircraft settles. Gliding now at minimum speed on the edge of stall, the wheels touch concrete, hard, no flare, no energy to flare, just controlled crash. The gear struts compress fully, metal groans, the aircraft bounces, comes down again, stays down, she's rolling. 100 miles per hour, 80, 60, no brakes, the hydraulics are dead, she's rolling toward the runway end at 60 miles per hour with no way to stop. She stands on the rudder pedals, full left pedal, forces the tail to swing right, ground loop. The aircraft pivots around the main gear, skids sideways, tires scream, rubber burns, 40 miles per hour, 20, 10. The P-51 stops 6 feet from the runway edge. Evelyn sits in the cockpit, hands still gripping the stick, still making small corrections even though the aircraft is stopped. She's alive. She pulls off her helmet. Her hair is soaked with sweat. Her hands are shaking. Her entire body is shaking. Ground crew runs toward the aircraft. They see the damage, count the holes, see the hydraulic fluid, the oil leak, the damaged wing. They see the pilot climb out, a woman bleeding from a shrapnel wound in her shoulder she didn't know she had. Her legs don't hold her. She collapses against the fuselage. A medic reaches her. Young, maybe 20. "You're hit." Evelyn looks at her shoulder. Blood has soaked through her flight jacket, dried and frozen in the cold air. "I didn't notice." "What happened up there?" Evelyn closes her eyes, sees 14 German fighters, sees 30 bombers flying home, sees Michael's face finally at peace in her memory. "I stayed," she says quietly. "This time I stayed." Then everything goes dark. Evelyn wakes in a hospital bed. White walls, white ceiling. The smell of antiseptic and floor wax. Sunlight streaming through a window to her left. She tries to sit up. Pain lances through her left shoulder, sharp, immediate. She gasps and falls back against the pillow. A nurse appears. Middle-aged woman, kind eyes. "Easy now, Captain. You've got 11 stitches in that shoulder, shrapnel wound. You're lucky it missed the major vessels." "How long have I been here?" 6 hours. They brought you in around 1400. It's 2000 hours now." The nurse checks her pulse. Her temperature. Professional. Efficient. "The doctor wants you to rest, but there's an intelligence officer who's been waiting to speak with you. Says it's urgent." Evelyn nods. "Send him in." 5 minutes later, Captain Morrison enters, 40 years old, pale skin from too many hours reading reports in windowless rooms. Eyes that have learned to spot exaggeration and lies. He carries a clipboard and a skeptical expression. He sits in the chair beside her bed, pulls out her handwritten after-action report that she filled out before collapsing, reads it again. 14 enemy aircraft, he says slowly. Engaged alone for 30 minutes. Flew inside the bomber formation in direct violation of standing orders and basic safety doctrine. "Yes, sir." Morrison taps his pen against the clipboard. "Captain Hartwell, I need accurate reports, not heroic fiction. The Air Force makes tactical decisions based on intelligence like this. If the data is compromised by exaggeration or—" "I'm not exaggerating, sir. You're claiming you single-handedly defended 30 bombers against 14 German fighters for half an hour. That you positioned your aircraft inside the bomber formation where turbulence should have torn you apart. That you survived long enough to run out of fuel and glide back to England on fumes and prayer. That's what happened." Morrison's jaw tightens. He's about to respond when the door opens. A colonel enters. Older man, maybe 55. Distinguished Flying Cross ribbon on his chest along with decorations Evelyn doesn't recognize. He carries a thick folder. "Captain Hartwell," he says. His voice is measured, authoritative. "I'm Colonel Patterson, 8th Air Force Intelligence Section. I apologize for the interruption, but I've been reviewing testimony from the bomber crews you escorted." He opens the folder, pulls out a typed document. "Captain Robert Hayes, B-17 Aircraft Commander, Lucky Lady, serial number 4231367. Patterson reads directly from the page. Quote, "Falcon 7 engaged an estimated 14 to 16 German fighters without assistance for approximately 30 minutes. She positioned her P-51 directly ahead of our formation inside our defensive perimeter and used her presence to disrupt multiple coordinated attacks. Without her actions, I estimate we would have lost 8 to 12 bombers. Every man in this formation owes his life to that pilot." End quote. Patterson pulls out another document. Staff Sergeant William Price, ball turret gunner, same aircraft. He reads again. Quote, "I had a clear view of the entire engagement from my position. Falcon 7 maintained station 50 feet ahead of the lead bomber for the duration of the attack. The Germans attempted multiple passes but broke off each time rather than risk collision with the defending fighter. I counted 13 separate attack attempts, all disrupted. I witnessed Falcon 7 shoot down one enemy aircraft and damage at least 2 others before they withdrew. End quote. Another document. Lieutenant James Crawford, waist gunner, aircraft Mary Jane. Patterson's voice is flat. Patterson's. Professional. But there's an undercurrent of something else. Respect. Quote, that pilot saved us. Plain and simple, we were dead. Separated from the main formation. No escorts, Germans circling like sharks. Then she showed up. One fighter against impossible odds. She stayed when she should have run. Fought when she should have died. Every man in this formation knows we're alive because of her. End quote. Patterson sets down the folder. Looks at Morrison. Captain, we have 27 separate crew statements from gunners, navigators, pilots, and bombardiers. All consistent, all corroborating Captain Hartwell's account. She's not exaggerating. If anything, she's understating what she accomplished. Morrison's face goes pale. Sir, I didn't mean to imply. You implied she was lying, Captain. She wasn't. Patterson turns to Evelyn. Your actions today saved 240 lives. 30 bombers that should have been destroyed made it home intact. 0 losses. Not one casualty among the aircraft you protected. That's unprecedented for a deep penetration mission. Evelyn says nothing. She's exhausted. The adrenaline crash has left her hollow, empty. Patterson continues. The bomber crews are calling it a miracle, but miracles don't leave 42 bullet holes in a fighter aircraft, don't damage wing spars and hydraulic systems, don't require emergency dead stick landings. You fought for 30 minutes against overwhelming odds using tactics that no one has ever attempted in combat. And it worked. I saw what needed to be done and did it, sir. No, Captain. You did something that required extraordinary courage, exceptional skill, and the willingness to violate every rule in the book because the rules were inadequate to the situation. Patterson picks up his folder. Get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. There are people in Washington who need to hear about this. People who make decisions about how we fight this war. He leaves. Morrison follows without making eye contact with Evelyn. She's alone in the hospital room with her thoughts and the ghost of Michael Brennan. She touches the stitches on her shoulder, feels the tight pull of the sutures. The wound throbs in time with her heartbeat. Through the window she can see the airfield. Ground crew working on aircraft under portable lights. In the distance, her P-51 sits surrounded by mechanics. They're counting damage, assessing whether the aircraft can be repaired or should be scrapped for parts. 42 holes, damaged wing spar, failed hydraulics, oil leak, fuel system bone dry. The aircraft should have killed her, but it didn't. Because she made choices, calculated risks, trusted physics and geometry more than doctrine, and because somewhere in the chaos of combat luck intervened. She thinks of the bombers, wonders if they made it all the way home, wonders if Hayes's wife will give birth to a healthy son, wonders if Billy Price will live to see tomorrow. She hopes so. The door opens again. A young private enters. Can't be older than 19. Ma'am, there's a phone call for you. From Debden, your squadron commander. Evelyn's stomach drops. Major Williams, the man whose direct order she disobeyed. The private helps her to a phone in the hallway. Every movement sends pain through her shoulder. She picks up the receiver with her right hand. Captain Hartwell. Williams's voice is ice, cold, sharp. You switched off your radio, ignored a direct order to maintain formation, abandoned your squadron during active combat operations when we were outnumbered and engaged with enemy fighters. Do you have anything to say in your defense? No, sir. Silence. She can hear Williams breathing on the other end, imagines him sitting at his desk at Debden, trying to decide whether to court-martial her or recommend her for a medal. Did you really fly inside the bomber formation? His voice is different now, quieter, almost uncertain. Yes, sir. And you held off 14 German fighters alone. 13, sir. I damaged one in the initial pass. It withdrew early. More silence. Longer this time. Carter lost 2 pilots today, Jackson and Reynolds, both shot down approximately 10 minutes after you broke formation. Both dead. The Germans concentrated their forces after you left. We were outnumbered. We needed you. The words hit like bullets, each one finding its mark. Jackson, the young pilot who was terrified, who vomited in the briefing room before the mission, who looked to her for reassurance that everything would be okay. Dead at 23. Reynolds, married, new father. Had a daughter born 3 months ago that he'd never seen except in photographs his wife sent. Dead at 25. I'm sorry, sir. Sorry doesn't bring them back, Hartwell. Williams pauses. When he speaks again, his voice carries a different weight. But 30 bombers made it home because of you. 240 crew members who'll see their families again. I've already received calls from bomber group commanders. Their men are talking about what you did. The math is ugly, Captain. 2 of ours dead versus 240 of theirs saved. But it's clear. You made the right tactical decision. Evelyn closes her eyes. 2 pilots dead. Because she left. Because the squadron needed every fighter and she chose the bombers instead. The right call. The necessary call. War's brutal calculus. But Jackson's face won't leave her mind. His nervous smile, his shaking hands, his trust that she'd keep him safe. I'm grounding you pending official investigation, Williams says. There'll be a review of your actions. Questions about why you violated direct orders. It could take weeks, maybe longer. Until then, you're on administrative leave. No flying. Understood, sir. Hartwell. Yes, sir. Carter saw the bomber crew reports, read the testimonies. He's withdrawing his complaint against you. Says you demonstrated initiative and sound tactical judgment under impossible circumstances. He's recommending you for commendation. I don't know if that'll be enough to satisfy the brass, but it's something. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. The investigation is real. You violated orders, broke protocol. Some people won't care that it worked. They'll only see insubordination. Williams pauses. But between you and me, Captain, what you did today is going to change how we fight this war. Get some rest. You've earned it. He hangs up. Evelyn stands in the hallway, receiver still in her hand. 2 pilots dead, 240 saved. The mathematics of war. Cold, brutal, necessary, but mathematics don't account for faces, for names, for the weight of choices that haunt you. 3 weeks pass. Evelyn spends them at Debden, grounded, writing detailed reports, answering questions from intelligence officers who want to know every detail of the engagement. How she positioned the aircraft, what the Germans did, how the turbulence affected control, whether the tactic could be taught to other pilots. She eats alone in the officers' mess. The other pilots don't know how to treat her. Some think she's a hero. Others think she's reckless, that she got lucky and 2 good men paid the price. Most just avoid her because she's a woman in a man's world and they don't know how to reconcile what she did with their assumptions about gender and combat. She walks the flight line in the evenings, watches other squadrons take off for missions she's not allowed to fly. Watches them return with empty slots in the formation where aircraft used to be. The war continues whether she's part of it or not. On February 2nd, orders arrive. Terse. Immediate. Report to 8th Air Force Headquarters, London. 0900 hours, February 3rd. She takes a train south, arrives at a gray building in a gray city under gray winter skies. A secretary leads her through corridors that smell of paper and tobacco smoke and floor polish. The conference room holds 10 men, generals with stars on their shoulders, colonels with decades of command experience. intelligence officers with folders full of analysis. At the head of the table sits General Karl Spaatz, 3 stars, commander of the 8th Air Force, the man responsible for every bomber and fighter operation in the European theater. "Captain Hartwell," he says. His voice is measured, neither warm nor cold. "Sit." She sits. Her shoulder still aches. The stitches came out a week ago, but the wound pulls when she moves. Spaatz opens a folder in front of him. "I've read your after-action report multiple times. I've read testimony from 30 bomber crews. I've read tactical analysis from our best aviation minds. And I've read recommendations from your squadron commander and your group commander." He looks up, meets her eyes. "You violated direct orders from your squadron leader. You abandoned your formation during active combat when they were engaged with enemy forces. You flew in a manner explicitly forbidden by Air Force doctrine and safety regulations. Under normal circumstances, Captain, you would face court-martial for insubordination and reckless endangerment." Evelyn's heart pounds. She keeps her face neutral. "Yes, sir. But these are not normal circumstances." Spaatz pulls a document from the folder. "The bomber crews you protected completed their mission. They destroyed their assigned target. They returned to base intact with 0 losses. That mission had a projected loss rate of 18% based on recent similar operations. We expected to lose 5 to 6 bombers. Instead, we lost none. Not a single aircraft from the formation you defended." He pulls out another document. "Furthermore, our tactical analysis section has studied your engagement in detail. They conclude that your method positioning a fighter inside the bomber formation to physically obstruct head-on attacks while unorthodox and dangerous proved remarkably effective. The Germans attempted at least 13 attack runs. You disrupted all of them, not by shooting down every attacker, but by making yourself the problem they had to solve before they could reach the bombers." Spaatz sets down the papers. His expression doesn't change. "Captain, we've been losing bombers at rates we cannot sustain. 20% losses on some deep penetration missions. The Luftwaffe's head-on attack tactics have proven devastatingly effective. We've tried everything. Tighter formations, staggered altitudes, more escort fighters when we can spare them. Better defensive gunnery training. Nothing has worked adequately." One of the colonels speaks up. Older man with gray hair and a chest full of ribbons. "Sir, with respect, we cannot make Captain Hartwell's tactics standard operating procedure. The risk factors are too high. Turbulence inside the bomber formation, risk of collision, friendly fire from nervous gunners. One mistake and we lose both the fighter and potentially damage multiple bombers." "I agree completely, Colonel." Spaatz nods. "We cannot and will not train pilots to replicate Captain Hartwell's specific actions. What she did required extraordinary situational awareness, exceptional flying skill, and split-second judgment that most pilots don't possess. It's not teachable as standard doctrine." He turns back to Evelyn. "But we can modify our tactics based on the principles she demonstrated. We can authorize escort fighters to fly closer defensive positions when circumstances warrant. We can give experienced flight leaders discretion to engage defensively in ways that disrupt German attack geometry. We can adapt." Another colonel younger speaks up. "Sir, we're already seeing results. Since Captain Hartwell's mission group commanders have been experimenting with tighter escort positioning, modified patrol patterns, more aggressive defensive tactics. The last 4 deep penetration missions have averaged 11% losses, down from 20%. Spaatz absorbs this, nods slowly. Nearly a 50% reduction in loss rates. If that holds, we're talking about hundreds of bombers saved, thousands of lives. All because one pilot had the courage to break the rules intelligently. He stands. The other officers stand. Evelyn stands, trying to ignore the pull in her shoulder. "Captain Hartwell, effective immediately, you are cleared to return to full flight status. No disciplinary action will be taken. Your actions on January 11th will be noted in your permanent record as exemplary performance under combat conditions. Relief washes over her. She can fly again, return to her squadron, do the job she was trained for. But Spats isn't finished. I'm also recommending you for the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration. You'll be the first female fighter pilot to receive it, likely the only one for many years to come. The room goes silent. The weight of those words settles over everyone present. The Medal of Honor. Evelyn has seen the ribbon, pale blue with 13 white stars. She's seen it on the chests of men who threw themselves on grenades to save their squads, who charged machine gun nests knowing they'd die, who made the ultimate sacrifice for others. She thinks of Michael Brennan, of Jackson and Reynolds, of all the choices she's made and the weight they carry. "Sir," she says quietly, "I don't deserve that." Spats raises an eyebrow. "Why not, Captain?" "I made mistakes. In China, I lost my wingman because I prioritized personal glory over the mission. Last month, 2 pilots from my squadron died while I was gone. I'm not a hero, I'm just trying to make better choices than I did before." Spats studies her for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice carries authority built over decades of command. "Captain, the Medal of Honor is not awarded for perfection. It's awarded for extraordinary heroism in action against an enemy. You flew alone against 14 enemy aircraft when any rational person would have withdrawn. You knowingly gave up your chance of survival to protect 240 men you'd never met. You stayed in combat for 30 minutes against overwhelming odds. That is the definition of heroism." "I made the choice the situation demanded, sir. That's all." "Exactly." Spatz's expression softens slightly. "You saw a problem that had no solution in the textbook. You analyzed the tactical situation. You applied physics and geometry and courage, and you solved it. That's what makes you exceptional, Captain. Not fearlessness, any fool can be fearless. Not perfection, no one achieves that in combat. But the ability to think clearly under pressure when lives depend on your decisions. That's rare. That's valuable. That's why this nation needs more officers like you." He picks up his cover. The meeting is ending. "Dismissed, Captain. Return to your squadron. Keep flying. Keep making good decisions. This war is far from over and we need pilots who can adapt when doctrine fails." The officers file out. Evelyn remains standing at attention until the room is empty. Then she allows herself to breathe. She's not being court-martialed. She can fly again. And somehow, impossibly, they want to give her the Medal of Honor for making a choice that still costs her sleep. She walks out of the building into the cold London afternoon. The war continues, and so does she. April 18th, 1944. A manor house outside London. The ceremony takes place in a garden that's trying to shake off winter. Early flowers pushing through cold soil. Trees showing the first hints of green. A temporary stage has been erected with American flags flanking the podium. Officers in dress uniforms fill the garden. Dress pinks and greens brass polished to mirrors shoes reflecting sunlight. Journalists with cameras cluster at the sides. Newsreel crews with their bulky equipment. This is a story they want to tell. The first female fighter pilot receiving the Medal of Honor. Evelyn stands at attention in her own dress uniform, hair pinned back according to regulations, medals polished Air Medal Distinguished Flying Cross, and now, the pale blue ribbon with white stars will join them. Her shoulder still aches in cold weather. The shrapnel wound healed cleanly but left a scar she'll carry forever. A reminder. General Spats steps to the podium. The crowd falls silent. "We are gathered today to recognize extraordinary heroism in combat," he begins. His voice carries across the garden. Strong, clear. On January 11th, 1944, Captain Evelyn Hartwell of the 354th Fighter Squadron demonstrated valor and devotion to duty far beyond the call of any orders or expectations. He reads the citation, words carefully crafted by staff officers who weren't there but tried to capture what happened in formal military language. Words about engaging superior enemy forces, about selfless dedication, about saving the lives of fellow Americans through courageous action. The words are accurate, but they don't capture Jackson's fear, or Reynolds's hope of seeing his daughter, or Hayes's desperation, or the mathematics of 2 versus 240. They don't capture what it felt like to accept death as the price of keeping a promise. Spatz finishes reading, steps toward Evelyn, holds the Medal of Honor bronze star hanging from the pale blue ribbon. He pins it to her chest. The weight is substantial, heavier than she expected. The crowd applauds. Camera flashes pop. Newsreel cameras roll. Evelyn blinks against the light, keeps her face composed, professional. Then she sees them. At the back of the crowd, 30 men in Class A uniforms, B-17 crew wings on their chests. They're spread across the back rows, some standing, some in wheelchairs wounded on subsequent missions but alive. Robert Hayes, Billy Price, Lieutenant Crawford, all the crews from the 30 bombers. They traveled from their bases across England, took leave, hitchhiked, borrowed jeeps, whatever it took to be here. Hayes catches her eye. He's in the front row of the group. He brings his hand up. Not the crisp military salute, but something more personal. A gesture of acknowledgement, of gratitude, of respect between equals. Evelyn's throat tightens. She blinks rapidly. Not here, not now, not in front of the cameras. Hayes nods once, understanding. Then he fades back into the crowd. The ceremony concludes. Officers approach to offer congratulations. Journalists shout questions. The newsreel crews want her to pose for additional footage. She does her duty, shakes hands, answers questions in short professional sentences, poses for photographs that will appear in newspapers across America. But her eyes keep searching the crowd for the men in B-17 wings. After an hour, the crowd thins. The journalists pack their equipment. Officers drift toward the manor house where refreshments are being served. Evelyn finds Hayes near the garden wall. He's smoking a cigarette. Looking older than his 24 years. The missions have aged him. Everyone looks older than they should. Captain Hayes. He turns, smiles. It's genuine. Captain Hartwell. Hell of a ceremony. Congratulations. Thank you for coming, all of you. It means more than the medal. Wouldn't have missed it. Most of the guys wanted to come, but couldn't get leave. They sent this. He hands her an envelope. Inside is a photograph. 30 B-17s in formation. The image is crisp, professional, taken by a reconnaissance aircraft during a subsequent mission. She turns it over. The back is covered with signatures, 240 names. Every crew member from every bomber. Below the signatures, one line in careful block letters. We remember, always. Evelyn's hands shake. She stares at the names, all those men, all those lives that could have ended on January 11th. I don't know what to say. Hayes takes a drag on his cigarette. You don't have to say anything. You already did everything that mattered. He pauses. My son was born 3 weeks ago. Evan Robert Hayes, 8 pounds 6 ounces, 10 fingers, 10 toes, healthy, perfect. Congratulations, that's wonderful. Margaret and I talk about you sometimes, about what you did. Evan's going to grow up knowing your story, knowing that he exists because you made an impossible choice. Hayes looks at her directly. You gave him a future, Captain. You gave all of us futures. Evelyn looks at the photograph, all those signatures, thinks about Jackson and Reynolds, about Michael Brennan, about the mathematics of sacrifice. I lost 2 pilots that day. she says quietly. Jackson and Reynolds. They died because I left my squadron when they needed me. Hayes is silent for a moment. He stubs out his cigarette on the stone wall. I know. Captain Williams told me when I called to find out about the ceremony, and I won't pretend that doesn't matter. Those men had families, had futures, their deaths count. He meets her eyes. But here's the thing, Captain. War is brutal mathematics. You made a choice. 2 lives versus 240. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying you shouldn't carry the weight of that decision, but you made the right tactical call. The numbers are clear. It doesn't feel right. It never does. That's what makes it sacrifice instead of strategy. Hayes pulls out another cigarette. Doesn't light it, just holds it. You know what Jackson told me once? We flew a mission together back in December. He said he was terrified every time he climbed into the cockpit, but he kept flying because someone had to, because the mission mattered more than his fear. Hayes looks at the unlit cigarette. He understood the mathematics, Captain. So did Reynolds. They knew the risks. They accepted them. And they'd probably tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. You made the call that saved the most lives. That's what we ask of our commanders. Evelyn closes her eyes, sees Jackson's nervous smile, Reynolds' daughter that he never met, Michael's P-40 spinning toward the jungle. The weight doesn't get lighter. It never does. But maybe with time you learn to carry it better. I have to get back to base, Hayes says. Formation training at 0600 tomorrow. But Captain Hartwell, yes. Thank you for staying, for fighting, for giving my son a chance to exist, for giving all of us that chance. He walks away. Evelyn stands alone in the garden, holding a photograph signed by 240 men, wearing a medal that feels heavier than bronze and ribbon should weigh. She thinks of Michael, of the promise she made to herself in a barracks in China. She kept it, finally, and maybe that's enough. Evelyn Hartwell flies 47 more combat missions. She shoots down 3 additional German fighters, bringing her official total to 9 confirmed victories. Not enough to make her a leading ace, but enough to matter. She survives the war. The 8th Air Force assigns her to training duties in late 1944. She teaches new fighter pilots the tactics she learned the hard way. Stays in the service after VE Day. Rises through the ranks. Brigadier General in 1963. Retires in 1966 after 29 years of service. She never marries, never has children. Lives quietly in a small house outside Portland, Oregon, near the coast where she grew up, where she can see the Pacific Ocean and remember what it felt like to glide across the English Channel on fumes and prayer. Letters arrive, hundreds over the years, from bomber crews, from their wives, from their children who learn the story and want to say thank you to the woman who gave their fathers a future. She keeps them in a wooden box in her closet. Doesn't read them often. They're too heavy, carry too much weight, but knowing they're there helps. Every January 11th, the phone rings. Robert Hayes calls. Then after Hayes dies in 1987, his son Evan calls. Then Evan's daughter calls. The tradition continues across generations. Remembering, honoring, refusing to forget. 1994, Orlando, Florida. B-17 Veterans Reunion. Evelyn is 81 years old. Gray hair cut short, lined face that shows every year. Hands that shake slightly from age and old wounds that never quite healed right. She almost doesn't come. The flight from Portland to Orlando is long. Her health is declining, diabetes, arthritis, the accumulated toll of 8 decades. Moving hurts. Breathing sometimes hurts. But Billy Price called 3 weeks ago. His voice was urgent. Captain, this might be the last reunion. We're not getting any younger. Most of the guys can't travel anymore. But we need you there. Please. So she comes. The hotel ballroom is decorated with photographs, black and white images of B-17s in formation, crew portraits of young men who thought they were immortal, aircraft nose art, mission maps showing routes deep into Germany. Most of those young men are dead now. Heart attacks, cancer, car accidents, old age, the mundane deaths that claim warriors who survived war. But 30 men are scattered around the room, old, bent, some in wheelchairs, some with oxygen tanks, but alive. Evelyn enters the ballroom. Her cane taps against the floor. The room falls silent. Then they stand, all of them. Some struggle to their feet using tables for support. Some rise easily despite their age, but all stand. Robert Hayes approaches first, 74 years old now. Liver spots on his hands, hair completely white, but the same eyes she remembers. Captain Hartwell. I haven't been a captain in 30 years, Robert. You can call me Evelyn. Can't do it, ma'am. You'll always be captain to me. He embraces her carefully. Old bones break easily. Billy Price is next, then Crawford, then 27 others, men she saved, men who lived because she stayed. Hayes guides her to the wall where photographs are displayed. But these aren't war photos, they're family photos. Hayes's family tree spans 3 generations, his son Evan in Air Force uniform, Evan's daughter in flight suit standing in front of a C-130. Great-grandchildren in birthday photos and graduation gowns. Billy Price's family section shows 7 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, a pediatrician, a teacher, an engineer, a Marine. Lives lived because Billy survived. Crawford's descendants, Martinez's family, Thompson's children and grandchildren. Then Evelyn sees the banner hanging above the photographs. 3,847 lives. Her breath catches. What is this? Hayes steps forward. His voice is steady but emotional. We did the math, Captain. Took us 2 years working with a statistician from the University of Florida. 30 bombers, 240 crew members. Each man who survived had an average of 2.3 children. Those children had an average of 3.1 children. We're now tracking 4th-generation descendants. Evelyn stares at the number. 3,847. All of them exist because you stayed, Hayes continues. Because you fought when you should have run. Because you gave up your chance of survival to protect men you didn't know. Billy Price joins them. He's smaller now, shrunken with age, but his voice is strong. We wanted you to see, Captain, to understand. The weight you carried that day wasn't just 240 lives, it was generations, it was futures. It was every person in these photographs and thousands more we haven't tracked down. A young woman approaches. 23 years old, flight attendant uniform. She looks nervous. Captain Hartwell, I'm Sarah Mitchell. Billy's granddaughter. He's told me about you my entire life, about January 11th, 1944. About the pilot who stayed when everyone said run. She swallows hard. Her eyes are wet. I wanted to say thank you. I exist because of you. My mother exists because of you. Everything I am and everything I'll ever be started with your choice. The dam breaks. Evelyn cries. For the first time in 50 years, through ceremonies and interviews and medals and speeches, she held it together. But here, surrounded by the lives she saved and the future she created, the weight becomes too much. She cries for Jackson and Reynolds, for Michael Brennan, for all the choices that haunt you, for the mathematics of war that say some people die so others can live. Hayes puts his arm around her shoulders. It's okay, Captain. You're allowed. They stand together, old warriors, survivors, witnesses to the brutal calculus of sacrifice. Around them, 3,847 lives continue because one woman chose duty over survival on a cold January morning over Germany. March 15th, 1995, Arlington National Cemetery. The funeral is small, military honors. 21-gun salute that echoes across the rows of white headstones. Flag folded with precise practiced movements and presented to a distant cousin Evelyn rarely spoke to. But in the back rows, 30 elderly men sit in silence. B-17 veteran caps on their heads, tears on their weathered faces. They came from across the country. Some drove, some flew, some shouldn't have traveled but did anyway because this mattered more than comfort. Above 4 P-51 Mustangs fly in missing man formation. Silver aircraft against blue March sky. The sound of Merlin engines, the same engines that powered Evelyn's fighter 50 years ago, they roar past in tight formation. Then one pulls up sharply, climbs toward the sun, disappears into the light. The missing man, the impossible guardian, the woman who stayed when everyone said run. The chaplain speaks words about duty and honor and sacrifice. Good words, true words, words said at thousands of military funerals. But the bomber crews know a deeper truth. Courage without logic is just noise. Logic without courage is just theory. Evelyn Hartwell had both, and 240 men flew home because of it. Hayes places a stone on her grave marker, an old military tradition, leaving a mark to show someone was there, someone remembered. The stone is from Normandy Beach, from the invasion that happened 5 months after Evelyn saved his life, an invasion he participated in because he survived January 11th, 1944. Other stones join his, 30 stones from 30 men. They stand in silence as the ceremony concludes, then they leave, back to their lives, back to their families, back to the futures Evelyn gave them. Today at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, there's a classroom where fighter tactics are taught to cadets who weren't born when Evelyn died. On the wall hangs a photograph, a P-51 Mustang with visible damage. Below it, a brass plaque, Captain Evelyn Hartwell Medal of Honor. January 11th, 1944. Engaged, 14 enemy aircraft alone defended 30 B-17 bombers, 0 losses changed. Fighter doctrine never gave up, never turned back. Every semester, a cadet raises their hand and asks the same question. Sir, what do you do when you're outnumbered and alone, when doctrine doesn't cover the situation, when the textbook answer will get people killed? The instructor, usually a combat veteran with their own stories, smiles. It's a question they expect, a question they want. Then you think, cadet. You analyze the tactical situation, you trust your training. You trust physics and geometry and mathematics, and if the situation demands it, if lives depend on it, you break the rules. Intelligently, with purpose, with full understanding of the risks. The instructor points to Evelyn's photograph. Captain Hartwell proved that 50 years ago, over Germany, alone, outnumbered 14-1. Impossible odds. She didn't survive by being fearless. Any fool can ignore fear. She survived by being smart, by solving a problem that had no textbook answer, by making the hard choice and living with the consequences. A pause. The cadets study the photograph, the damaged aircraft, the woman who flew it into legend. That's what we ask of you. Not perfection, not fearlessness, but the ability to think clearly when chaos surrounds you, to make good decisions when lives depend on your choices, to adapt when doctrine fails. That's what makes an exceptional officer. The instructor steps back. Captain Hartwell demonstrated courage and logic working together. That's her legacy. That's what we honor. Not the medals or symbols, but the choice, the willingness to risk everything for people you'll never meet. That's what defines us. The class continues. New generations learn old lessons. The story endures. And somewhere in whatever exists beyond this life, Evelyn Hartwell smiles, because the lesson survived her, because 240 men flew home, because 3,847 lives exist, because she stayed when everyone said run, always.